Good afternoon, everyone. It's Enrique. I'm here with Joe and with Greg at more than 6 feet of distance between us, among us. This is the last presentation that we'll have for the 2020-2021 budget. Why don't we start? Our preliminary budget in January 8 was between 81.6 and 82.6. As of today, the number is 82,137,880. Last year it was 80,040,270. That's an increase of 2,097,000, and it's an increase of 2.62%. Our tax levy is 46,348,000. Last year it was 43,740,000, with an increase of 5.96%. I think it's important to say here that if we had not had the problem with Indian Point, our tax levy would have not increased at all. The New York State cap for next year is 1.81%, and our wood cap is 11.34%. Our cap this year is 48.7 million. Last year it was 43.7 million, so it's an increase of 4.9 million as a cap. And that would be the 11.34 that I mentioned. In the next page, we see a preliminary budget. We can see that state aid went up around 13%. BOCES aid went up 2.5%. Then we have other income that went up 3.7%, and that's mainly income from our ABC program. Sales tax, I have not adjusted it, but at this point is $1.2 million, and that's because of the increase that was passed last year. However, given the situation, since it's a sales tax, that might be reduced substantially. Transfers, I reduced them by a little bit from 82,000 to 80,000, and then this year we're going to use fund balance of $3 million compared to $1.3 million last year. And pilots are coming down 12% because of the Indian Point closure. Our non-property tax revenue will decrease 1.4% from 36.299 to 35,789. Our proposed budget will increase 2.62% from 80,040,000 to 82,130,000. And our tax levy that we discussed will increase 5.96%. Our tax cap again is 11.34%.
Can the camera be focused any better? It's a little blurry on the internet, what you guys are focused on.
We're trying to, Bill. I think it's a function of the monitor that the presentation's on. I will let people know who are following along at home that this exact PowerPoint is on our board docs if they want to review it on their computer screen rather than TV. But
okay,
we
You
may.
can have it at the same time. You open the board docs and you look at the printout, the attachment. You can look at that and just follow along. Just not look at that, but look at the. You can still run the video. The audio. You can run the audio and look at the board docs printouts at the same time, and it's a little bit clearer for anybody.
All right.
Great, got it, thank you.
Just real quick, before we move on to this next slide, slide 6, any questions so far from anyone? Okay, we'll move on. Slide 6.
Thank you. In the graph at the top, we can see how inflation, we're comparing inflation, the New York State tax cap and our tax cap over the last 6 years. The blue one is inflation, the red one is the New York State tax cap, and the green one is ours. And as you can see, between the 13-14 school year and last year, we were usually below both inflation and New York State tax cap. And last year, for the first time, we were a little bit, like less than 0.25% above both of them. And obviously, because of our problem with the pilots, now our tax cap goes way up. In the graph at the bottom, we can see budgets and tax levies since the 14-15 school year. And as you can see, our tax levies have been much lower than our budget up until last year. And this year, obviously, our budget is going to be a lot less than our tax levy, and that's because we need to make up the money from Indian Point pilot. Next. This is a division of our revenues. Again, as you can see, tax levy is the greatest part. Then still pilots represent about 29% of our revenues. State aid represents 8%. BOCE is about 1%. And then we have a little bit of all of the rest besides fund balance and cessation fund that represents 4%. In the next page, you have two graphs of expenses. The one at the top shows expenses by code, and as you can see, the biggest expense are our salaries. Then is plant maintenance, and then you have a little bit of the rest. But again, this means that most of our expenses are fixed, which means our salaries that we have to pay to all our employees. Benefits represent the second biggest portion, and then the rest. In the graph at the bottom, as always, we need to represent the expenses by government accounting, that it's divided by 3, curriculum and instruction, that is the blue one, the major part, capital budget, that includes all our maintenance and our debt, and administrative budget, that includes everything for the administration. Any questions?
Yes, Enrique, you had mentioned that we're anticipating our sales tax revenue to go down substantially. Are there any other areas on this budget that you expect our financials to change substantially?
Not really. My concern is if state aid goes down. They haven't passed a budget, and with all the new emergency needs from the state, I believe that it's going to change. But I don't know how much. I don't know if it's going to change. It's very difficult to know. As long as the changes are not substantial, we can add a little bit of fund balance, and hopefully between now and April 15, that you will have to approve the budget, we will have not a little bit, a lot more information so we can adjust our budget.
That's what I was just about to ask, if we were expecting that we'd get more information anytime in the next 2 weeks or so before we have to approve this budget.
Honestly, I don't think so, because the governor is focused on the coronavirus rather than state aid. But no one knows. All the schools in the state have to submit a budget, and without knowing state aid, we cannot do it.
In normal years, we would typically approve the budget now so we could gear up for our communication efforts and publication requirements. And again, our average tax increase since 2013 has been an average of 1.04. So this is the first year that we've had a substantial tax increase, and all of it is attributed to the pilot reduction from Indian Point. In fact, the around $3 million of reduced pilot payment would be more than the proposed tax increase. And I'll say that the other way around. The proposed tax increase doesn't even cover the pilot reduction, meaning we have continued to tighten the belt along the way. It's almost impossible to mathematically, it's impossible to run any sort of business or a school district where your average expenses are increasing at least 2% a year, but your revenue is only increasing on average 1% a year. That difference are decisions that the district has been making along the way to tighten the belt and be more efficient. That includes having more efficient bus runs. A number of years ago, we installed solar panels on all of our facilities to drive down energy costs. These include cooperative bidding for supplies, materials, gas, oil, you name it. So we're at the point where the Indian Point closing is now impacting our tax levy, and there's not much else for us to cut until we start looking at people and programs. And this board has made a commitment over the last 7 years to restore those programs that were painfully eliminated going all the way back to 2008. Waiting a few more weeks, I guess to answer your question, Carol, waiting a few more weeks doesn't hurt us. I don't know what new information we'll learn, but there's no rush to approve the budget today. What we would do is we would likely schedule a special board meeting between now and the 15th, and go through this presentation one more time and approve the budget.
Okay. Can I see if anybody else on the board has comments? Maybe we'll go around the table, so to speak. Lisa, do you have anything you wanted to say?
Not at this time.
Mary Pat?
I think it would be terrible to give the extra time, just because this way people can provide, anybody who would be watching or following it can provide whatever questions or feedback, and we can address those. I think it's pretty clear that we've made a lot of inroads in terms of restoring programs, and that much of our our increase is a function of the point. Clarity. I don't think it would hurt just to give that extra, whether it's a week or whatever, to have that extra meeting and fit that in to do the approval.
Good point. Bill, do you have anything to add?
Just to restate pretty much what's already been said, I mean, with the fluidness of what's going on with the coronavirus, and we don't need to make a decision till April 15th, according to Enrique, I don't think we should try to make a decision, and we've made a lot of cuts already in anticipation of the revenue we're losing with Entergy pulling out. So we've made a lot of cuts already, but since we don't have to make a decision, I don't think we should try to make a decision at this point in time. Let's see what happens with the governor, and if our community has any points that would be of value to us.
Okay, thank you. Barbara?
Yeah, I agree with Mary Pat and with Bill. I think that
time extension is definitely important in lieu of, a lot of people are being tied up in their houses because, not tied up literally, but tied up in their houses because of the coronavirus, So I think giving people the opportunity to give input is extremely important. So I would consider definitely waiting on the vote.
Hey, Lori?
I don't know if it's going to really make a difference one way or the other. Like, a lot of people are very nice and say we're going to wait for the community, but we very rarely do get too much input. My thing would be waiting for our governor with any changes. So if it doesn't hurt to wait, we could wait, but I would base it on New York State as opposed to us. But yeah, if we could wait, that'd be fine. If Joe and Enrique think we should go ahead, I'm okay with that too.
All right, well, it sounds like we've got a pretty strong consensus to go ahead and wait a week and try to schedule, or a week at least, and try to schedule another special meeting to do a final approval of the budget.
I just also would like to thank everybody for working so diligently on preparing the budget. And I know there's been so many up and down times with, school being held off. And, I'd just like to thank everybody, Enrique, Joe, the Finance Committee, everybody who worked so diligently on preparing this. So thank you.
The deadline.
Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you, everyone. The deadline is April 15. However, I have to make some submissions to SED and it's not working well. So I would like to have this meeting at least 2 days before April 15, just in case there's problems with the submissions.
Okay, well, let's be sure to give Enrique plenty of buffer room there. I don't think too many of us are going anywhere. So we'll get together after this meeting and try to come up with a date that is satisfactory to most, if not all of us.
Thank you.
Okay, does anybody else have anything to add before we move along? All right.